Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And what an exciting program we have in store this morning. We're going to be talking in the 7 o'clock hour with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, the first time since he's become the ranking minority member on the Ways and Means Committee. So we'll be talking with him. We've got obviously a lot of breaking news ranging from a lot of issues. Also, I'll have a couple pictures, but gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman was in the area yesterday. He was in Elmira. We'll tell you a little bit about that. I was lucky enough to attend. That'll be a little bit later on. But first, let's go to viewer comments. Mark writes in this morning and says, good morning. And I say good morning to Mark. He says, by now, everybody knows Kristi Noem got fired. So let's have some fun with it. Here's Mark's question of the day. The question is, will Kristi Noem turn on Trump and dig up some dirt? I vote yes. Mark says yes. He thinks that Kristi Noem is going to go scorched earth on her way out. Boy, a lot of information coming out about that. We're going to talk about it in just a moment. But before that, some breaking news late last night. Embattled Representative Tony Gonzalez has announced that he will no longer seek re-election. One day after he admitted he had an extramarital affair with a staffer who then later set herself on fire. That's how she committed suicide. Gonzalez said in a statement, after deep reflection and with the support of my loving family, I've decided not to seek re-election while serving out the rest of this Congress with the same commitment I've always had to my district. Through the rest of my term, I will continue fighting for my constituents for whom I am internally grateful. Now, Gonzalez had faced mounting calls to resign from Congress, even from within his own party, since text messages surfaced last month showing the married father of 6 sending some various texts that we don't need to relay to you. But Gonzalez took full responsibility on Wednesday for a lack of faith. I thought he was trying to get ahead of it because he was in that runoff election, but instead, I guess the calls grew too loud, and he resigned as of yesterday. Now, Gonzalez failed to receive a majority of the votes in that primary. He was slated to face fellow Republican Brandon Herrer in a May 26 runoff election. About 2 hours after Gonzalez's late night announcement, Herrera declared victory, saying, I appreciate Tony Gonzalez for making the appropriate decision. I look forward to being the voice of Texas 23 that our district deserves. From the border to oil theft, water rights, data centers, and many other issues, it's an honor to be chosen, and together we will make Texas proud. Now, the House Ethics Committee is also investigating Gonzalez over the claims that he engaged in sexual misconduct with a staffer and discriminated unfairly by dispensing special favors or privileges. Now, kind of in that vein, I received this yesterday from our Congressman Nick Langworthy. He voted to release the names of U.S. House members who used the sexual harassment slush fund. He said, I don't care what party you're in or what title you hold. I stand with the American people for transparency. So he announced that he voted in favor of revealing the names of all members of Congress who have used the taxpayer-funded settlement fund to resolve sexual harassment claims against them. The privilege resolution forced a vote by the full House that would reveal the identities of those who used the slush fund to settle claims for charges made against them by House employees, campaign staffers, and lobbyists. Congress has reportedly paid out more than $17 million in taxpayer dollars to quietly settle the cases. Langworthy was one of only 65 members who voted to expose this information to the public. Very interesting. A majority of the 357 members instead voted to refer it to the House Ethics Committee, where the names would continue to be concealed. Congressman Langworthy, who is a member of the House Oversight Committee, also voted in the committee to subpoena the records and make them available to the public, saying, quote, it's a disgrace and stain on the institution to have a secret taxpayer-funded slush fund to cover up sexual harassment by members of Congress. I'm appalled that Congress is shielding the identity of abusers and using precious taxpayer dollars to silence their victims. I don't care what party you are in or what title you hold. I stand with the American people for transparency. That from Congressman Nick Langworthy yesterday. Okay. Oh, a couple other breaking stories before we talk. Yes, Noam is the next to Iran, the big topic. We're going to talk about Iran as well. But Noam fired yesterday by Trump. Another person sort of fired, Tucker Carlson. President Trump cast Tucker Carlson out of the Make America Great Again movement, saying, quote, Tucker has lost his way. This was on an interview with ABC News' Jonathan Karl. He said, I knew that a long time ago, and he's not MAGA. MAGA is saving our country. MAGA is making our country great again. MAGA is America first, and Tucker is none of those things. And Tucker is really not smart enough to understand that. Now, in full disclosure, I have never been, going all the way back to Crossfire, I've never been a Tucker Carlson fan. I've always felt he was very kind of self-serving. He was whatever way the wind blew that would best suit Tucker Carlson. Now, you can disagree. You can get angry. I know we probably have some Tucker Carlson fans out there. But I think as of late, he has went down really weird rabbit holes in an attempt to, of course, make more money for Tucker Carlson. So I've never been a fan of his. You very rarely, unless it was maybe something negative against him, have I ever quoted him on this program. But what happened was Tucker had said recently that the strikes on Iran were absolutely disgusting and evil. He's also been outspoken in criticizing the Trump administration on issues like the Epstein files, the war in Ukraine, and more. Now, he had in the past met with Trump at the White House and was a primetime speaker at the Republican National Convention in 2024, along with pushing Tucker out of the MAGA movements into the has-beens. Trump also took a victory lap on his Iran decision. He called the operation a success and said people have been loving it through polls, though polls have been mixed. They're decimated for a 10-year period before they could build it back, he said. Now, Tucker is kind of now in the camp of Marjorie Taylor Greene, maybe. I think Tucker's been along for that ride a lot longer than Marjorie Taylor Greene, where he is just focused on the attention for himself and getting the money for himself. So I think it's a great statement from the President of the United States. But in that MAGA has-beens, will Kristi Noem be a part of that? As Mark asked the question this morning, will she try to dig up dirt or start attacking the president now that she has been ousted? I think that is a great question. Also, since we're just going through some random things before we talk about Kristi Noem, do you remember Michael Steele? He was the head of the RNC for a while. Did kind of a disastrous job. He was never someone I would consider kind of a part of that Tea Party movement, even though that's what this is about to be about. He found himself to be kind of a rhino Republican at the wrong time. He said, quote, I watched the Tea Party take over the GOP. Yeah, he watched it and was not a part of it. I see a similar movement, though, brewing on the left. Looking back, it's clear that American politics started to shift in the early 2000s in ways that are affecting us to this very moment. From the 2000 presidential election to the 2006 midterm rebuke of the GOP, the seeds of voter discontent were strewn about the political landscape. But then the 2008 financial crisis, which severely damaged public trust in government, banks, and economic elites, crystallized in the emergence of two political movements from opposite ends of the spectrum. The Tea Party movement on the right and Occupy Wall Street movement on the left. But I thought Occupy Wall Street was later, wasn't it? Anyway, they spoke different languages but shared one core belief, and I'm mentioning this because I wonder if you agree. Government was out of control, the system had been captured by powerful elites, and the political class had grown too comfortable with its own power. Everyday people no longer mattered. As chairman of the Republican Party at the time, I realized that their anger would not be easily contained. I recall warning my colleagues, at times unsuccessfully, that the Tea Party was not a passing protest, but a force to reckon with. I think in hindsight it's very easy for Michael Steele to say that. But the Tea Party would transform itself into a short order, ultimately leading to the rise of Donald Trump and the various characters of the MAGA movement. While Occupy Wall Street failed to take root within the Democrat Party, its influence was more cultural and rhetorical, reshaping debate about inequality. It would, however, become key to the political ascent of Senator Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Zohran Mamdani. In this moment of American politics, voters respond less to fine print of campaign promises than to whether a politician is willing to confront power directly. Sanders did that by taking on Wall Street. AOC did that by challenging the Democrat establishment itself. And Mamdani channeled long-standing frustration with a fatalist approach to city services. But Trump has taken it the furthest. Devoid of any kind of coherent ideology or political program, he represents nothing but a pure desire to fight, as shown by the first words out of his mouth after narrowly surviving an attempted assassination in Pennsylvania. Fight, fight, fight. I wish things were different. I would prefer a political leader who was a serious person, a thinker and a builder, whose authority came from quiet competence rather than empty spectacle. But our world does not work that way. And this is one of the reasons why Michael Steele was ousted, because he didn't see the writing on the wall. I know he can rewrite history. And this is not to talk just about Michael Steele. Basically what this boils down to, without spending any more time on this, but that the Democrats are looking for kind of the anti-establishment, and this is something we talked about on the program numerous times in the past, saying that it's just a kind of a party right now looking, they're told by Chuck Schumer, we've got to do it this way, right? We talked about this in the past. Or we're going to put Cuomo in there to run for mayor, or whatever the case may be. And they're saying enough with the old guard, we want someone new. And that's why AOC and Zoran has become so popular. Now, I don't equate this far left movement that is riddled with anti-Semitism, I don't equate it in any way with a Tea Party, other than the fact that what they're saying is enough of, and you've heard me say this, I call it kind of the I should call it the Jeb Bush effect, but I call it the Romney effect, where they kept telling us in the Republican Party, hey, the only way we can win is a moderate. The only way we can win is John McCain. And so a lot of people in the Republican Party held their nose and said, okay. And of course, he lost miserably. Same with Mitt Romney. Oh, the only way we can win is Mitt Romney. And we all look around and we're not excited, but we say, okay, well, they tell us that's the only way we can win, and we lose miserably. So when Trump came around and people started getting interested and started listening to his rallies, and then the establishment told us the only way we can win is Jeb Bush, that was enough. Republicans threw up their hands and said, you know what? You keep telling us this is the only way we can win it. We lose miserably every time. You know what? This guy may be a little wild, maybe a little different. We're going to go with him and take a chance. So what Michael Steele is essentially saying, and I've been saying it for a long time, is that Democrats are kind of going through that right now after some monumental losses. I just thought it was interesting. Stealing my talking points. One last thing before we talk about Nome and take a break. A Florida nurse posted a video on TikTok calling on foreign governments, including China and the United Kingdom, to attack the United States in order to remove what she described as the regime of President Donald Trump. Joyce Skulls-Killian, a nurse. When will these people learn? It's not worth losing your job or becoming viral if you say things like this. I mean, all it is about the likes. Come on, Canada. Come on, UK. Come on, China. You know you want to do it, Joyce Skulls-Killian said. Come in and attack the United States. You don't like our regime? We don't like it either. Help us, please. Help the United States. Come in, help us. We'll figure it out. We don't like our regime either. Come on, help us. So this nurse believes that she would apparently live a better life under China rule. She is the owner and lead nurse advocate at her business, At Your Request Patient Advocate, which describes itself on its website as a provider of private nurse patient advocacy services. In a statement to Fox News, Skulls-Killian said she posted the video to bring awareness that not all Americans support the regime in place of Donald Trump. Some of the Americans grew up believing in the Constitution and that the government is for the people, by the people. The Congress represents the people and not one person in charge. Even the president has oversight. So again, to get that message out, she believes it would be better if we were living under Chinese rule. She added that she was concerned about what she described as unchecked executive action and alleged constitutional violations, saying, I wanted to mention my fears that America is attacking boats without cause, killing our own United States citizens, and calling them terrorists, sending U.S. troops to foreign countries in war, making decisions without oversight, and then not following court orders when they do come down. I don't want to read any more of her statements because it's just, it kind of sounds like a normal politician in the Democrat Party. And I don't want to give her that much time. But I just looking at that last part, unbelievable. So there we go. That goes to show you the delusion, and I know it's called Trump derangement syndrome, and you can see why. When we return, we're going to talk about Kristi Noem ousted, what caused it, according to sources, and a little bit of the talking points behind it. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. We're just getting warmed up on this Friday edition, and soon to be Friday with Phil in the 7 o'clock hour. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Insurance companies don't make money by paying claims. They make money by denying them. They hire doctors to say you're not that hurt. They bring in lawyers to chip away at your case. They stall, they argue, they cut corners, because every dollar they save is another dollar of profit. At WYDC Injury Law, we know their tactics, and we fight back with facts and evidence. If you've been injured in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies control your story.
There have always been a few, ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
Good morning. We do have areas of fog in the morning that give way to partly cloudy skies in the afternoon, topping off in the 50-degree range, upper 40s in the cooler spots. By tonight, scattered showers possible, but very mild. Temperatures in the 40s. The average low of 21 reminds us that it very reasonably could be snow for this time of year, but it's rain. And additional showers possible Saturday afternoon, continuing Saturday night. Warm in the 60s, drier.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So you knew it was going to be bad for Kristi Noem when earlier in the day yesterday, Trump was asked about the ad buy that Kristi Noem made, and it was John Kennedy who called this out in a very effective question and answer period with Kristi Noem, where she said that Trump approved the $220 million ad buy, and it was a campaign ad essentially for herself. It was just a focus on her. Trump told Reuters yesterday, I never knew anything about it. So that set into motion this process. John Kennedy told CBS, Senator John Kennedy, on Thursday that he spoke with Trump and that put in this way, his recollection and her recollection are a little different. So that started in the morning. Now, according to sources telling the New York Post, the final straw, and there's actually two, but the first final straw, first being, which I guess there can't be two final straws, but the first was the questioning by John Kennedy and suggesting it was Trump that approved the $220 million ad running on television that features Kristi Noem prominently. So that was kind of the first straw. John Kennedy did a great job. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend that questioning. But what they said the actual final straw was that prompted President Trump to fire Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was her stunning non-answer about whether she had, quote, sexual relations, end quote, with top aide Corey Lewandowski. And we talked about it quickly yesterday, but that she would not give an answer. It was, I'm not talking about that tabloid garbage. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of the yes or no. But this was one where enough people were asking that you would have thought she would have said, no, my goodness. So it was the non-answer. Trump had been at nearly a boiling point in his frustration with Noem and already was considering ousting her after she claimed to senators that he approved $220 million in ads starring herself. But her inability to answer the question sealed her fate. Quote, the question about the affair at the hearing was actually the final straw. It was blanking brutal, one source said. Many saw the way she handled it as an admission that she was having a relationship with her subordinate, and the awkwardness of her husband of 34 years, Brian Noem, joining her at the hearing. The soon-to-be axed DHS head kept saying, no, it's garbage, it's tabloid garbage. Representative Sidney Candler-Dove said, have you had a sexual relations with Corey Lewandowski? She said, I am shocked that we're going down and peddling tabloid garbage in this committee today. I would tell you is that he is a special government employee who works for the White House. There are thousands of them in the federal government. That was kind of her line over and over again. Representative Jared Moskowitz said, I really think you need to say the word no into the record so you can clear that up. Noem never did. It just kept mounting up. A third source said there was just no going back with the two hearings. It became all about her and him. Lewandowski himself told the New York Post he wasn't sure what the role the alleged affair played. He said, you're asking me to speculate on things that I have no insight into. And again, you knew it was coming when he said he knew nothing about the ad buy. We could talk about the ad if you want, but I don't think we need to. Now, Representative Jamie Raskins, Democrat from Maryland, who we unfortunately quote probably too much, said that there was an exhilaration that Kristi Noem was ousted. He said, well, there's a little bit of exhilaration and satisfaction that we were able to move things in this way. Of course, none of it brings back Renee Good or Alex Preddy, and she's done profound damage that we need to be working on. I mean, there have been dozens of injuries and deaths under her leadership of ICE, and we need to turn that situation around. I mean, it is clear and present danger to the lives of a lot of people who are being swept up in their dragnet policies. But also $220 million for a PR ad contract? That corrupt bargain deal needs to be investigated from top to bottom, as my colleague Joe Neguse was saying yesterday in questioning. We need to investigate the entire thing, and the taxpayers have got to get their money back. But it is riddled with corruption over there. And then, I raised a question yesterday of dozens of cases where federal judges have corruption of Homeland Security for lying in affidavits and testimonies before court. All that has got to end. All of that has got to stop. Tim Walz, who's in a lot of, he had a pretty disastrous congressional hearing himself, but he said that Kristi Noem will have to answer questions from investigators in Minnesota. He's talking tough. Former Secretary Noem should probably get used to spending more time in Minnesota because I have a pretty good feeling in the future she may be doing that because we have got to get accountability. Okay. All right, we got a couple other things on this. Keep your comments, keep your questions coming in. Mark asks the question this morning, will Kristi Noem turn on Trump now, kind of wanting to stay in the limelight, wanting to continue to be a quote-unquote star if she ever really was one? I don't really ever think she was. I think her decision-making was proven when she told that story in the book about killing her dog. She thinks she's more politically brilliant than she is, and she's got that double whammy where she wants everything to be about her and the focus on her. Never was a good look. I mean, that's why so many of us, and we said at the time on the program, that we were relieved that Tom Homan went into Minnesota because someone had to almost rein her in. She wanted to be a star, and I don't know if that was because of future political ideas or if it was just she liked the attention. I'm not sure. But I think most people, and you can disagree, I would love to hear your thoughts. I think most people weren't losing any sleep over her being out at DHS. That's my opinion, but I'd love to hear yours. So stay with us. We got to take a short break. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we will be right back.
To the me I used to be, before talking to 988.
I felt alone.
I thought seeing hard things was just part of the job. I thought that having a bad day at work meant I was failing. But then I connected with someone at 988.
A real person texted back. Someone listened without judgment.
Now I know. Now I know it's okay to let someone help me too.
And I'm stronger than I thought.
We hear you. Call, text, or chat 988.
Say is a veteran. He was a combat medic in the Army.
I did tours in Korea, Germany, and Bosnia before I got injured.
There's been a lot of wear and tear on his body.
My knees are bone on bone from doing all those jumps and lugging my backpack and all that gear around. I was also exposed to toxins.
When Yusuf got out of the military, he needed help getting his disability benefits.
Luckily, DAV came to the rescue. They fought for me the same way that I fought for my country.
Every year, DAV provides life-changing support to more than 1 million veterans like Yusuf, helping them get the benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories, great and small.
Now Yusuf is paying it forward. DAV has been instrumental in helping him start 2 healthcare technology companies that are working to help veterans everywhere.
My victory is never giving up and finding more ways to serve.
He's pretty amazing.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Good morning. We do have areas of fog in the morning that give way to partly cloudy skies in the afternoon, topping off in the 50-degree range, upper 40s in the cooler spots. By tonight, scattered showers possible, but very mild. Temperatures in the 40s. The average low of 21 reminds us that it very reasonably could be snow for this time of year, but it's rain, and additional showers possible Saturday afternoon, continuing Saturday night. Warm in the 60s, drier Sunday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Just before we read viewer comments, I want to mention this so I'll forget. I've been meaning to mention it all week. Casa Trinity, our friends at Casa Trinity, we've had numerous interviews with them in the past. They are releasing, quote, The Silence Inside on Black Balloon Day, which is today. An annual day of remembrance honoring those who have died from drug overdoses and raising awareness about substance use disorder. Casa Trinity released The Silence Inside, an 11-minute film built around the unfiltered voices of teens navigating loneliness, substance abuse, and the quiet moments where difficult thoughts grow louder. Rather than lecturing, the film follows high school narrators through experiences many young people recognize, alongside a physician, a young adult in recovery, and parents who have faced profound loss. It then shifts towards hope, connection, trusted relationships, and mental health resources, affirming that young people are not alone in what they're carrying. Yes, kids in our community are hurting, they're lonely, they're overwhelmed, and some of them are turning to substances just to get through the day. A free community screening of the film will be held today at 4:15 at the Air Center, which is 456 East Church Street in Elmira. Food and refreshments will be provided. The film is also available for classrooms, youth groups, and community organizations. If you need more information on that, contact me. Okay, let's go to viewer comments. Mark writes, Britney Spears got arrested for DUI. She may want to change her lyrics in her song, Oops, I Did It Again. Got a DUI. When will it end? Thank you, Mark. I did see that news this morning. I didn't think I would bring it up, but I'm glad that you not only got me to bring it up, Mark, but you had me quote her mega hit, Oops, I Did It Again. All right, quote or comment from a different person. If there was fraud and corruption in Minnesota, then we should certainly address that. But how come we never talk about the fraud in red states? From what I've read, some of the highest rates of fraud are in Florida and Kentucky. I'm not sure. I don't have an answer for you on that. I know J.D. Vance is kind of now the lead agent on that. I would hope they're looking at fraud everywhere. I know Doge was, right? So I don't have an answer for you on that. I do think it's important when you have, how many billions was it? $215 billion Medicaid program, highest in the country in New York State. I'm glad Dr. Oz announced he's going to look into that for fraud. But I think looking at weeding out fraud anywhere is a great idea, just as you said. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. What happened to Kristi Noem? Well, her scorched earth attack on illegal immigrants, deportations, and then her dragging Trump in on the ad campaign funds. Yeah, I think, well, according to the Post, and the sources said that was the first straw, was the ad campaign, the $220 million ad campaign, and then it was her non-answer in reference to a potential relationship with Corey Lewandowski. Comment from a different viewer, is Noem completely out and has to find another job, or has she been given a position elsewhere in government? Great question. She has been given a job. It's called a special envoy for, quote, the Shield of the Americas. Now, what is the Shield of America? Well, according to Shield of Americas, according to The Hill, the regional coalition of countries in Latin America will work together on ideology and policy initiatives that help secure the Western Hemisphere. The Shield of the Americas will be guided in part by the President's foreign policy initiatives, dubbed the Monroe Doctrine, fashioned after the Monroe Doctrine. The administration has described the doctrine as enlisting established friends in the Western Hemisphere to pursue U.S. aims and expanding ties by cultivating and strengthening new partners. Since Trump returned to office last year, he directed the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, announced plans to take back the Panama Canal, and pushed efforts to acquire Greenland and make Canada the 51st state. A summit making the Shield of the Americas official is set to take place this weekend in Miami and may largely focus on counterterrorism measures in the region as a group of Latin American leaders assemble on American soil. So that's her kind of new job, if you will. We're getting a lot of waves this morning. I appreciate that. I know if you were watching, you wonder why I added a few there. People walked by and I forgot to add it during the break. The New York Post says, hooray to President Trump for booting Kristi Noem from the Department of Homeland Security, a move that comes not a moment too soon. I would like to hear your thoughts. Are you a fan? Are you not a fan of this decision? Either way, I'd love to hear. She's made it all too clear that she saw the job as being about serving herself and her image, not the president or the nation. The final straw came when she flagrantly avoided answering a pointed question about her intimate relations with top subordinate Corey Lewandowski, a dodge clearly signaling an affair, at a hearing where she was joined, and that was so awkward, by her husband of 34 years. And this followed her suggestion that Trump had signed off on awarding a week-old company owned by her associates, that I did not know, with $143 million in no-bid contracts to make ads promoting her. I did not realize, I guess I did hear that it was only a week-old company that was owned by her associates. It got lost in the whole mess of a hearing. Hearing her defend her starring role as a cowgirl, no less, in the DHS spots was bad enough. But then she said she didn't know anything about the company in question before trying to hide behind her boss. Yikes. Our desire to see her out was obvious when we cheered in January as Trump sidelined Noem from ICE operations in Minnesota, which she fumbled horribly. And we cheered on the Tom Homan scenario as well here. Not to disparage the hard work of federal agents on the ground, but it was obviously someone had ordered those officers to be far too aggressive in pursuing arrests and handling hostile activists interfering with their work. As if that someone thought Homeland Security was about playing cowboy. The escalating tensions yielded the shooting deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. I would disagree a little bit with this on the Post. I think a lot of that, too, is when you have the sheriff's offices there not working with ICE, because ICE is not meant to be crowd containment. So I think Kristi Noem had gone too far. I will agree with that, but I don't blame her necessarily for the aggressive tactics with protesters. I think it just had gotten too much with no support. But the damage was done. Minneapolis fed the left line that Trump is waging a war on Latinos generally, risking GOP doom in the midterms. Against that, Noem's abusive attitude towards staff and other questionable choices may count only as distractions. But no cabinet officers should be distracting from the president's agenda. Noem's ouster is the first real second-term shakeup in Trump's top team, which has generally worked remarkably smooth. We expect Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, who is the choice made by President Trump, will meet the standard when he takes over DHS, putting his country, not himself, first. As a matter of fact, our Congressman Nick Langworthy had this to say about Mark Wayne Mullen. We've actually quoted him a lot lately. I think that he's going to, not just the Congressman Langworthy, but also Mark Wayne Mullen. I think he's going to be a good pick, and that's what Langworthy said, saying, quote, I applaud the president's announcement that he will appoint Senator Mark Wayne Mullen to lead the Department of Homeland Security. As a member of the Armed Services Committee, where he serves on the subcommittees dealing with emerging threats and readiness, he brings a wealth of experience and management expertise that will allow him to seamlessly take the reins of this critical agency. His pending appointment is welcome news, and now it's time for Democrats to stop blocking funding to the department. There is no more important task than protecting America's safety and keeping this agency shuttered during these volatile times is putting our nation at grave risk. So thank you to Congressman Langworthy for sending that in. Senator Peter Welch believes that Mullen will get confirmed, saying, yeah, he'll be confirmed. The question is whether there'll be bipartisan support for him. Markwayne Mullin is competent and he's honest. So those are two good things that Kristi Noem did not have. This is going to give us an opportunity to have a real discussion about what's going on with this Department of Homeland Security. Markwayne he's respected, he's honest, he's competent. The question we have is about the FEMA agenda, and we're going to have an opportunity to talk to him. We oppose having untrained people. We oppose having no-knock warrants and no warrants. We oppose having unmasked agents. We oppose invasions into working sites and churches and schools. So we're going to have a discussion with him about that. So the issue, I think, with Markwayne is going to be much more about the policy and what he's going to be offering us as we look ahead, rather than his personal qualities, because people respect Markwayne. And that's really what Kristi Noem became, is all about her personal quote-unquote properties. But Senator Andy Kim from New Jersey said he won't vote for Mullen. It's a referendum on the Trump administration. Everything's a referendum on the Trump administration. I said the person really running the show here is Stephen Miller, and we see just how dangerous his policies are. I cannot support this administration's immigration policies that the vast majority of Americans, especially in my state, as ICE is trying to start a detention facility in Roxbury and a warehouse that's the size of 8 football fields. Nobody wants it there. Not even the Republican leadership of that town wants the immigration detention facility there. This is so far out of exactly what the American people want, and they need to be held accountable. All right, one other thing on Kristi Noem, then we're going to talk about Operation Epic Fury. We've got to take a break. Don't forget, coming up in the next hour, we'll be talking with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, because it's Fridays with Phil. Also, just as a quick moment of housekeeping, on Monday we're going to hear about the upcoming performance at the Clements Center of the Book of Mormon. Then on Tuesday we're going to hear from some of the cast from the Elmira Express Jr., who are going to present the Addams Family musical. We're going to hear from them on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, Chemung County Executive and friend of Frankly Speaking, Chris Moss. Everyone in this program is a friend of Frankly Speaking, but we look forward to seeing Chris Moss. It's been a little while since we've had an update from him, so he'll join us on Wednesday. Okay, let's take a break. I know I'm running late. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition.
Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
I wish to present the importance of hard work and determination, of not backing down when things are tough, of being there to help a friend, because it is only when we work together that we achieve true greatness.
With a 100% U.S.-based workforce and a 100% U.S.-built fiber broadband network, Spectrum is America's connectivity company.
Everyone has a community. A neighborhood, school, place of worship, or other chosen groups. Communities can provide support when you need it, including helping your kids avoid underage drinking and other substance use. Learn more at talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
Good morning. We do have areas of fog in the morning that give way to partly cloudy skies in the afternoon, topping off in the 50-degree range, upper 40s in the cooler spots. By tonight, scattered showers possible, but very mild. Temperatures in the 40s. The average low of 21 reminds us that it very reasonably could be snow for this time of year, but it's rain. And additional showers possible Saturday afternoon, continuing Saturday night. Warm in the 60s, drier Sunday, and then more warmth and dry weather to start the week.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Some comments from viewers. And by the way, here in just a little bit, we'll have a Climate Fact Friday Bob comment. He sent his in. We'll wait until the end of this hour. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. It's probably a good thing that the left has a scalp. And Kristi Noem, they don't get to gloat very often. Well, the thing about this one, too, you're right. They don't get to gloat very often. But in this scenario, it seems like not too many people on the right are upset about this either. So it's kind of interesting. Comment from a different viewer. I was surprised that a testimonial inquest about Homeland Security involved personal questions that have nothing to do with it. These types of divergences permeate these inquests. However, Noem's character did come to light. I wonder if a divorce is in her future. Yes, as I said yesterday on the program, I thought it was pretty classless, the way that she was asked these questions, and kind of the smug attitude in which she was asked. But I do think there is a point, because Corey Lewandowski is a subordinate to her. So there could be the argument made about that. But yes, either way, her character was shown in the whole ad buy, and now the weirdness of the association that she had with the company, that adds to it. So that made $143 million off of it. But anyway, it was not good for Kristi Noem, when many people on this program even saying yesterday that it was not a good hearing. That doesn't come up very often. So anyway, I was looking here because I had a question about something that someone asked and I don't see it. So that's okay. Never mind. We'll move along here. All right. Yeah, I was going to say, okay, I thought this was the case. In full disclosure, and I can't find the date, full disclosure, I interviewed Corey Lewandowski back in 2020. I thought I did, and I'm sorry, that's not braggadocious, but I was thinking, was it, because I know I interviewed the Mooch, but I couldn't remember if I interviewed Corey Lewandowski. I'll have to go back and listen to that. All right. It wasn't about me. It was just bothering me. Okay, Kristi Noem from Rich Lowry saying at times you could be forgiven for having thought that Kristi Noem wanted to be a uniformed Department of Homeland Security officer rather than the secretary of that department. Now the cabinet member most inclined to glamour shots out in the field is going to have to go back to wearing civilian clothes. For all his trademark firings during The Apprentice and the rapid turnover of his first term, President Trump has been loath to oust top officials this time around. Kristi Noem is the exception, and she's earned the dubious distinction. Incompetent and preposterous self-promoting, Noem took a serious role and made it look something out of the HBO political spoof Veep. The Wall Street Journal recently published a devastating report on her time at the department, which she ran in close partnership with the man she's been rumored to be having an affair with, former Trump consultant Corey Lewandowski. She dismisses it as tabloid trash, did not deny it, but called it tabloid trash. It was like Anthony and Cleopatra, except the empire was a sprawling bureaucracy and the show was farce rather than tragedy. According to the Journal, Lewandowski fired a Coast Guard pilot who left Noem's blanket behind on another plane. And then, when they reached their destination, reinstated him because there wasn't anyone else to fly them home. Reportedly, Noem tracked how often Tom Homan, the border czar, who supplanted her in Minneapolis, was on TV and sought to outpace him. The Journal related that Lewandowski was desperate to get a federally issued gun and badge and exacted retribution against those who didn't cooperate. He failed to get the gun, but apparently got the badge. DHS officials denied much of the Journal's story, but even a fraction of it, if it was true, it was damning. The two were turfy, sharp-elbowed bureaucratic players, not a new or unusual offense in Washington. But their enemies tend to be people who know what they're doing, with Tom Homan high on that list. Noem and Lewandowski raised eyebrows by taking an unusual amount of control over the department's spending. Self-dealing played a direct role in Noem's ouster. The department approved a $220 million contract, funneled in part through firms run by Noem and Lewandowski allies, for an ad campaign encouraging illegal immigrants to go home. The ad starred, who else? Kristi Noem on horseback and in chaps. The implicit message was that if illegal immigrants didn't leave on their own, she'd immediately form a posse and run them over the border. It was a production worthy of a spaghetti western, or more to the point, given her political ambitions, a commercial for a 2028 presidential campaign. And I do think she had those kind of delusions. I do think she thought she could be president someday, because remember, she was going to run before. But anybody that puts that story in her book about shooting her dog just does not have the chops, right? Noam couldn't defend the sketchy spending decision or the blatantly self-glorifying ad or much of anything else in the brutal back-to-back House and Senate congressional hearings that was the beginning of her doom. She'd already been taken down a notch after the Minneapolis ICE operation went sideways. Not working with copious supplies of credibility to begin with, she tossed away whatever she had by instantly labeling both agitators shot by DHS agents as domestic terrorists. All this said, it was Trump who hired Noam despite her manifest deficiencies, including no notable experience in immigration enforcement. She was camera ready and loyal, so why not? Her designated replacement, Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, also doesn't have a background in immigration policy. One hopes so that he won't interfere with the professionals and will continue the Homan-backed approach of focusing on apprehending illegal immigrants who have committed other criminal offenses and received final orders of removal and ramping up worksite enforcement. Anyway. So he is saying good riddance, that Trump got it right. Your thoughts? Operation Epic Fury when we return, and reading your comments. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Hi, this is Till, owner of Hessel Sins in Amara Heights. At Hessel Sins, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hessel Sins now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hessel Sins is still locally and family owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hessel Sins.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey that
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Mark says, I believe Mark Wayne will do a good job at the DHS as he is an American Indian. Is that right? And he has Mark in his name like me. Good. That's fair enough, Mark. I appreciate that. All right, House votes to let Trump Operation Epic Fury continue. We had the vote in the Senate the other day, but the House of Representatives narrowly voted to allow President Trump to continue Operation Epic Fury in Iran on Thursday. A bipartisan resolution led by Representative Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna failed to pass after 4 Democrats joined most Republicans in sinking it, 212 to 219. The legislation was aimed at blocking Trump from using the armed forces in the joint U.S.-Israeli operations in Iran, which would likely force the strikes to grind to a halt. The Trump administration, as well as a majority of Republicans in Congress, have insisted that the president has acted within the authority so far and are hopeful he will continue to do so. But Democrats, along with Massey and Representative Warren Davidson, are largely skeptical. Both Republicans voted in favor of the measure. The Democrats who voted against reining in Trump's war power includes Representatives Jared Golden of Maine, Henry Cooler of Texas, and Greg Landsman of Ohio. All right. Iran is confident it could counter a U.S. ground invasion. I always find this a little weird, and your thoughts on this, but Iran Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi spoke from Tehran in an exclusive interview with NBC Nightly News. Okay. And he believes that they could survive boots on the ground. His comments came after the U.S. and Israeli militaries began a sweeping attack on Iran on Saturday. Anyway, asked if he was afraid of a possible U.S. ground invasion, he said, "No, we are waiting for them because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them." He also said, "We didn't ask for a ceasefire even last time. In previous times, it was Israel who asked for a ceasefire. They asked for an unconditional ceasefire after 12 days that we reinstated against their aggression." Anyway, enough about that. Iran's new Ayatollah, and it's not Ayatollah Khomeini to that level, it's an Iranian Ayatollah, called for the shedding of Donald Trump's blood in a chilling revenge statement broadcast on Iranian state television. Ayatollah Abdullah Javadi Amoli, one of Iran's most senior Islamic clerics, declared that the nation was on the verge of a great test and urged the shedding of Zionist blood and shedding of Trump's blood. "Fight the oppressive America. His blood is on my shoulders." All right. Now, Trump calls Ayatollah al-Khamenei's son, who we've learned a little bit, I would almost argue, too much about his son in recent days. I think as the commercials put it, apparently he had some intimacy problems and had to go to the doctor numerous times. But Trump called him a lightweight. They're wasting their time. Khomeini's son is a lightweight, because that's who many speculate could be the next in line. Khomeini's son is unacceptable to me. We want someone that will bring harmony and peace to Iran. The word of Mojabi's likely ascent to his father's throne, emerging from opposition outlets in Iran, but not yet confirmed through state media or official channels, has thrust some, we'll put, not so flattering details about his love life into the open. And we're not going to go through all of those. If that's something that interests you, you can Google search it yourself. Now, yesterday, Trump demanded an immediate pardon for Netanyahu so that Netanyahu could focus on Iran. He told Axios that Israeli President Isaac Herzog must pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today, calling Herzog a disgrace for failing to act over the last year. "Every day I talk to Bibi about the war. I want him to focus on the war and not on the blanking court case. I want the only pressure on Bibi to be fighting against Iran," Trump said. Now, Trump has been pushing for this pardon since last June, arguing that his trial on corruption charges ongoing since 2020 is a witch hunt, akin to the U.S. president's own legal troubles. Okay, we've got a couple other things on this. We're wrapping up hour number one. In the next segment, we'll read Climate Fact Friday Bob's comments and any comments that come in before the end of this hour. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
Month after month, year after year, even decades you've paid into the insurance system. You've done your part. But when you're seriously injured in a car accident or another tragedy, that system turns its back. Insurance companies care more about pumping up profits and stock prices than paying for your medical bills, your lost wages, or your recovery. At WYDC Injury Law, we fight to make them pay what's fair. If you've been hurt in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies win.
Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
Good morning. We do have areas of fog in the morning that give way to partly cloudy skies in the afternoon, topping off in the 50-degree range, upper 40s in the cooler spots. By tonight, scattered showers possible, but very mild. Temperatures in the 40s. The average low of 21 reminds us that it very reasonably could be snow for this time of year, but it's rain. And additional showers possible Saturday afternoon, continuing Saturday night. Warm in the 60s, drier Sunday.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. That beautiful view Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. All right, let's go to Climate Fact Friday Bob, who says, good morning, all. Climate Fact Friday Bob here with another Climate Fact Friday. This time, it's more of a New York State issue. The conservation easement that people apply to their land is under jeopardy. Agricultural easements say that the land can never be developed. It must remain in its wild state. And there are binding even through the property changes, even if the property changes hands. Borolax, a Canadian company, are telling landowners and the local land trust in Washington County how they plan to use their agricultural easement. It seems that these agricultural easements are set in stone until a foreign solar company will tell people that this is part of the mitigation process. The easements will play host to overhanging wires and other equipment needed to develop their Frankenstein renewable experiments. These agricultural conservation easements are developed to prevent sprawling developments of environmentally sensitive areas. But now that big solar from foreign countries have invaded not only New York State but all across the country, it seems that the Office of Renewable Energy, citing ORS, are letting these foreign companies get away with this type of strong-arming people into giving up land for these solar and wind industrial complexes. If they can get away with this in New York State, and it will spread across the entire country. We do not need this wind solar. It is a fallacy, a dream that cannot be reached. As I said before, to achieve net zero in the United States at the present rate of mining materials to develop all the wind and solar, it would take 1,000 years. Everyone have a good weekend. Enjoy the good weather. Stay safe. Go Bills. Thank you, Climate Fact Friday, Bob. We appreciate that. Great way to wrap up hour number one. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano coming up in hour number two. By the way, Operation Epic Fury destroys Iran's Navy and cuts the missile attacks by 90% in the ongoing campaign. In just days of Operation Epic Fury, you and your team have delivered nothing short of devastating, precise strikes, taking out the better part of Iran's Navy, making it combat ineffective, neutralizing missile sites and launchers, and establishing total dominance over the skies, said Pete Hegseth to Admiral Bradley Cooper of CENTCOM. Hegseth also says that U.S. military is establishing total dominance over Iran, saying that this allows a timeline for achieving Trump's objectives to be ours and ours alone. Hegseth described the 6-month campaign against the Iranian regime, dubbed Operation Epic Fury, as being nothing short of devastating, with precise strikes taking out the better part of Iran, as I mentioned. Okay. When we return, I'll tell you a little bit about yesterday's visit by Bruce Blakeman. So stay with us. I can't believe hour number one in the books. We covered a lot this morning. Keep your comments coming in. What do you think? Mark asked a question this morning. Will Kristi Noem turn on Trump? Kind of go the Marjorie Taylor Greene route. Now, Kristi Noem, like the Rich Lowry said, she did have kind of the delusions of grandeur where she wanted to be president. She wanted the attention on herself. These reports from behind the scenes were not flattering. And then her hearing, of course, did not go well. So anyway, your thoughts. Will she turn on him? What is her future? I know she's going to be in that, what was it called? The Shield of Americas? Okay. But not the attention that she wants to spend that kind of money on that campaign ad. Anyway, we got to take a break. Stay with us. Hour number two, moments away. We'll be right back.
Move Metal in March is back at McGuire, and it's bigger than ever. Now through March 31st, save big on thousands of in-stock vehicles. Lock in the lowest interest rates of the year. Get top dollar for your trade. And no payments for 90 days thanks to Beginnings Credit Union. Move Metal in March. Happening now at all McGuire locations.
Good morning. We do have areas of fog in the morning that give way to partly cloudy skies in the afternoon, topping off in the 50-degree range, upper 40s in the cooler spots. By tonight, scattered showers possible, but very mild. Temperatures in the 40s. The average low of 21 reminds us that it very reasonably could be snow for this time of year, but it's rain. And additional showers possible Saturday afternoon, continuing Saturday night. Warm in the 60s, drier Sunday.
And we welcome you to our number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. We still have a lot to cover, and in this hour, it's Fridays with Phil. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be joining us. And again, if you are just joining us, Mark asked the question, will Kristi Noem turn on Trump now and dig up some dirt? I vote yes, he said. Well, this viewer says Kristi Noem will probably soon be a CNN contributor with Liz Cheney. I'm surprised Marjorie Taylor Greene hasn't taken that route. But Kristi Noem likes the attention. So she's, to Mark's point, I could see her maybe telling tales out of school to try to get some attention and get that level of attention back. But before we continue to talk about Iran, I wanted to mention, because I know a lot of people have been critical that the Republican gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman hasn't been to our area, that they don't know a lot about him. I will say yesterday he was in Elmira, and now the name, it's a beautiful new place. It escapes me what the name of the place is, and that's not fair. So let me just check my right here. Centertown Social in Elmira, beautiful place. So Bruce Blakeman attended to speak to the corrections officers in Elmira to show his solidarity with the COs, and he gave probably a 15, 20-minute speech about all the wrongs of the Hochul administration, and he did a really good job. Here's, I took a couple pictures. I didn't have any video, and I apologize, but there he is. You can see a fairly large crowd, people listening to Bruce Blakeman. So it was nice to have him in the area. And the reason I tell you this, because you may say, well, I didn't hear about it. And, why didn't we get notice so we could kind of rally for him or hear that speech? Well, I spoke to one of his people who happened, a weird story, they happened to be watching, they saw some of my show for some reason. I don't remember the exact reason they saw, but he goes, hey, I remember, and he showed me on his phone that, look, I was watching this just earlier on our way in because it was something about one of the guests there that they wanted to know more about. And I said, oh, that's great. I said, here, and here's my business card. So they have agreed that they will be on this program at some point. I'm waiting to get the exact specifics. It could be next week. It could be a month from now. It could be 2 months. But I just wanted to say that, confirm to you, because so many people have been critical that he has not been out in upstate New York. He was in Elmira yesterday, and we will hear from him at some point. And he did give a very poignant speech about what's not only wrong with the Hochul administration, but what he can do to fix it. So there you go. Again, one more time, Bruce Blakeman in Elmira. Okay? So now there goes that argument. All right, how's that? Okay, you know that the media is terrified about J.D. Vance, by the way. And the reason I say that, this is from The Atlantic. Again, I don't know why Susie Wiles went to The Atlantic that time, but from The Atlantic. Iran is one more humiliation for J.D. Vance. Trump's war shows that within the administration, the vice president's opinion matter less and less. They're terrified. They're trying to create a rift. They're trying to tell you that J.D. Vance is no good and Trump doesn't like him, hoping that MAGA will turn on him. Fine. If that's the direction they want to go. Another one, this is by Bloomberg. Elon Musk is backing J.D. Vance 2.0. Some Republicans aren't sure that's a good thing. Okay. I guess that's one of a friend of J.D. Vance who is running for office. Musk is backing him. So they're trying any way they can throw kind of attacks on J.D. Vance. I just had that caught my attention this morning because I saw 2 or 3 articles like that. First of all, again, I wish Republicans would stop going to the Atlantic. I don't want to sound like Jasmine Crockett, who, though a very far left Democrat, hates the Atlantic too, as we learned by her throwing out a reporter from one of her rallies, and of course calling the Atlantic when they were doing a glowing piece about her upset saying, you cannot publish that because you talked to my colleagues. I'm not allowing you to publish it, which is not how that works. But anyway, the Atlantic, I just wish Republicans would stay out of there, but not a big fan of J.D. Vance. Okay, back to Iran. Trump is not leveling with us. Iran will likely be incredibly long act of war, said Senator Chris Murphy, who must have a lot of information on this. He must be a military expert. If you're running just an air campaign, you know you can significantly degrade their capacity to produce certain amounts of weaponry. But we know air power alone can't destroy their nuclear program. They have already buried much of that program too far underground for conventional aerial weapons or missiles to reach. They will eventually do the same with their drone capabilities and their missile capabilities. So, we are just going to be able to weaken the military capacity of the regime, but only so long as you are running active aerial bombing campaigns. So you mentioned that there's, some breaking news that maybe the war is now being planned for not weeks or months, but the better part of the year. I actually think that this is the most likely outcome anyway. Why am I reading that? Senator Rand Paul said America is at war, but Americans didn't vote for it. Okay, once war begins and American soldiers are under fire, a rational discussion of the pros and cons of war becomes nearly impossible. That is exactly why our founders wrote a constitution that demands a debate before the initiation of war. But there was no debate in Congress, let alone a vote. On February 28th, Americans awoke to the discovery that their country was once again embroiled in a war in the Middle East. Without reading his whole piece, because it's quite lengthy, I urge my colleagues to join me in opposing both this war and the unilateral actions taken without congressional authorization as the Constitution commands. All right, that's Senator Rand Paul. But Douglas Murray, I see some comments coming in. Yes, I know. I thank you to the person who asked about Phil. I do have that question in my list. So thank you for that. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Kristi Noem should have been fired for her false statements. Trump is giving her a second chance. Yeah, in that Shield of Americas. I'm with you. I don't know what the Shield of Americas is really all about, but I don't think anybody's really upset with Kristi Noem being ousted. She became too much of a distraction. It was too hard to defend a lot of her positions. So I think a lot of people were on both sides out, clearly on the Democrat side, but on the Republican side, we're fine with this. Douglas Murray says, unlike past presidents, Trump kept and delivered his promise to eliminate our enemies. Perhaps we forgot what it's like when politicians act on their promises. Perhaps our enemies forgot as well. For decades, American presidents, Democrats and Republicans, have said the theocratic dictatorship in Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. For decades, those same administrations were strung along by the Ayatollahs. American negotiators, like the European counterparts, sat through years of negotiations, and every time the revolutionary government in Iran got closer to the bomb. Well, not this time. As Trump envoy Steve Witkoff described in an interview with Fox News this week, even during last month's negotiations, the Iranians were playing their old games. The Iranian team sat down opposite Witkoff and Jared Kushner and boasted about how much enriched uranium they had. The Iranian team wanted America to know that they had the capacity to make at least 11 nuclear bombs in a matter of days. Perhaps the Iranians had become used to weak foreign governments. Perhaps they thought this administration was like all its predecessors. Perhaps they imagined this administration in Washington is like all those governments in Paris and London who said they were against crazed fanatics having nuclear weapons but never intended to do anything about it, apart from sitting around at another nuclear conference table. All right, that's enough on that because our guest is coming in, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. So stay with us, keep those questions and comments coming in, and we will be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized and a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
For our auto team!
The best hot cocoa?
Ask Google! The best ski resort? Ask Google!
The best Jeep dealer?
Ask Google! We did! Google reviews from customers rank Ferrario Jeep in Elmira the highest Jeep dealer in our area.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
Check out the new Jeeps during our President's Day sales event.
Visit Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but
I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the Army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Before we go to Fridays with Phil, Paul writes in, or he says, viewer says, Paul, meaning Rand Paul, don't tell me what I voted for. I'm pro-MAGA, and if bombing Iran is what it takes to get rid of the world of terrorists, then I'm behind it 100%. Thank you for that comment. But now it is time for Fridays with Phil. Good morning, Phil.
Morning, Frank. Good to be with you again. It's nice. Yeah. Rainy Friday.
I know. It's supposed to be nice, though, this weekend.
Yes, it is.
Tell people to get out their petitions.
That's right.
Got a lot of catch up to do. By the way, congratulations. We haven't seen you. Ranking minority member of the Assembly, Ways and Means Committee.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How much are you going to miss energy?
Well, it's funny when Leader Ross said, "Hey, I know you want to stay on energy, but you can't do both." but I have been very engaged on energy. You know, we've had 2 press conferences just the last 2 weeks on energy since then. So, and I will continue to be engaged in energy. And being on the ranking member on energy, or on this Ways and Means Committee, will still give me a platform where I can continue to talk about. Our conference is going to continue to talk about these issues. I mean, it's the issue everyone is talking about. It's the issue everyone's feeling. So.
You're exactly right. I was joking with somebody yesterday. I went and saw Blakeman speak, and then I was talking to the sheriff at this event, and every conversation, like the old days, the weather, or how's the bills look this year, or whatever, everything's about energy costs, and people openly talking about what their bill is.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. I mean, it's just not, it's just, we've listened to the governor talk about, she's for an all-the-above approach, she's for affordable and reliable energy, but number one, her policies don't match her words. And then you just look at her energy, the resume that's coming, the policy resume, what we've heard, you know, the overall cost of this plan being, I say, $250 billion to $500 billion. July 23, NISO, or the PSC approved $43 billion in future ratepayer increases to pay for green energy mandates. The All Electric Buildings Act, the builders have said this will increase the cost of new homeowner construction by up to $25,000 a person. The mother of all unfunded mandates, EV school bus. That's $8 to $15 billion in replacement costs, let alone the billions in charging infrastructure and other infrastructure. $35,000 to convert your homeowner from natural gas to full electrification. You know, by the way, for the viewers, these aren't Phil Palmisano's numbers. These are their numbers.
Their numbers, yeah.
In 2019, before we passed the CLCPA, the residential electricity rate was like 17 cents a kilowatt hour. Now it's over 25 cents a kilowatt hour, 50% higher than the national average. Similar percentage compared to Pennsylvania, and we're just a stone's throw away. And then you had the other things like the advanced clean car rule, advanced clean truck rule, the EV purchases, all these things keep adding up. And then to top it off, just last week there was a memo that came out from NYSERDA. Doreen Harris, the co-chair of the Climate Action Council, who put that green plan together, who, you know, even during budget hearings would never be able to answer how much this is going to cost. She says, we got to find out what the plan's going to be before we do it. It's kind of remind me of Nancy Pelosi saying we got to find out what's in it before we got to pass it before we find out what's in it. But this report is damning, and if this isn't a wake-up call, what it would say is people who heat with natural gas and oil, their prices are going to increase to over $4,000 annually.
$4,000 annually.
But here's where it really starts staggering. Prices at the pump.
Yeah.
$2.23 a gallon increase above what it is now. Diesel, $2.41 a gallon increase above what it is now. And some of the other parts of the report that didn't get as much attention, but are staggering, 46% utility costs for small and medium-sized commercial businesses, depending on your utility and your facility size. And the other one, increased delivery truck operations by 60%, more than 60%. So what does that mean? Your food prices are going to go up because you ship food by truck.
Right.
Lumber prices are going to go up, so prices are going to go up. And the governor talks about, and others talk about, we have a affordable housing crisis. Well, how does this help?
Everything's affordable.
It's just one thing after another. I mean, and we didn't even talk about, reliability concerns that have been brought up by the NYSO. The NYSO came out with a white paper talking about the costs, and some of the things they cited is declining generation, which basically baseload generation like natural gas in the retirements. 2, you have a rising fuel costs and pipeline constraints, because you have the supply, but if you can't get the supply to where it needs to go, I mean, that's because we impact the whole Northeast market.
Right.
That's problematic. And then the other thing is this growing electrification demand to meet these mandates without replenishing more base load generation. So what we did too, and we quickly pivoted to energy. I can't help myself.
I know we haven't talked about ways and means.
Missing energy. I'm like, well, but this is real.
No, it's important.
So we put forth a plan. Senate Republicans put forth a plan. Ours is called Lower Lights On with Energy Relief. And it basically, we're looking at a couple different things from our strategy. What can we do to get direct, immediate ratepayer relief now? And so there's multifacets to both of our plans. One part of it is, yes, there's a rebate check. And I know when we talked about the governor's sometimes it might sound good, but this is something that we can get tangible. It's some direct relief right back to families right now. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize, the taxes, fees, and assessments you pay, they collect them, the utilities collect them. There's over $2.4 billion in reserve accounts in NYSERDA waiting for that money. They have them in accounts, and then they want to spend it on green energy programs. We're saying rebate back directly to the ratepayers now. They would rather have direct ratepayer relief now than subsidize someone's EV purchase, than subsidize someone's electric heat pump, or subsidize electric snowblowers, which is what they want to do now too. It's crazy. And then that's one part of our plan. Oh, and then also the taxes, fees, and assessments, because your bill's made up of 3 parts: supply, delivery, and taxes, fees, assessments, and surcharges. Now, the delivery charges depart when the utilities go for the rate increases. It's only on delivery. The supply is a pass-through. But a lot of people, your taxes, fees, and assessments, those, they in some cases can add up to more than 20% of your bill. And a lot of it goes to pay for these green energy programs, energy efficiency. We could suspend those taxes, fees, and assessments now. That will provide some a combination of those 3 things will provide direct, immediate relief now. And then we want to, the NYSO says we need to repower shuttered plants and build new. And we said, let's do that. Let's build more natural gas. Let's repower what we have. And here's another thing, we are sitting on an abundance of natural gas here in Southern Tier. And I brought that up at the hearings. I'm like, we're never going to frack in the New York City watershed. We weren't going to frack in the Finger Lakes watershed. Come on. But the Southern Tier, we can do it. We just a stone's throw away from the PA where they are doing it, and their energy prices are lower than us.
Well, that's a question someone asked actually yesterday. If fracking was to be allowed in New York State, how much would that reduce the cost of energy in general, i.e. not only the cost of natural gas, but all electricity? Also, what is being done to make upstate the 51st state? We always got to get one of those in there. Yeah. But again, it would reduce. I mean, it would be such a monumental change overnight if we went fracking.
Well, because any issues with supply, if you have a tightening supply, prices go up. If you have a constraint to the pipeline, you can't get the gas to where it goes, prices go up. I still remember 2013, and there was a polar vortex. It wasn't for a lack of supply. It's the pipelines were constrained to get it. And you've seen there's been a hostility towards natural gas from this administration and the previous administration. It started with the ban on fracking, then it started with the denial of the pipeline projects, and then started with denial of air permits for new natural gas power plants and denial even for renewals. We have a Greenwich up in Yates County that they denied the air permit. Fortunately, they re-upped it and did it recently. You saw the Nessie pipeline that, I think President Trump had something to do with that, with the negotiations. They approved that pipeline project because think about what they were doing when they declined it before. The utility said, well, we can't provide any more gas. We're going to shut off new service. And Cuomo threatened their license. So you're going to provide them. So what their solution was, they brought in 40, 50, 60 trucks. They diesel emissions into the atmosphere,
right,
and then just inject it into the local pipelines. That's not safe. That's not helping the environment.
It goes back to what we always talk about. It's just that virtue signaling.
It's virtue signaling. And and how can you say you're for an all above policy when you have these policies that kind of go against that? I mean, their cap and invest plan alone too. That was their number. I missed that, but that's kind of ties into the new numbers. Their own person said if they implement that, it will increase prices at the pump 62 cents a gallon and increase natural gas home heating costs by 8%. And now that's been amended to show, $2 to $23 increase and increase of up to $4,000. So that's significant. And there was a poll, and I've been citing this at the press conference. There was a poll: 71% of New Yorkers do not want to ban on natural gas, including 76% of independents. 2/3 of New Yorkers want a balance between renewable resources and natural gas, including 74% of Democrats. Yeah. That same poll said utility bills were too high. You don't need a poll to tell us, we just got to look at our bill. Yeah, exactly. But the message of that poll is clear. New Yorkers want energy choice, and they want immediate energy relief right now. And natural gas has always been referred to as a bridge fuel. I mean, we got to get to that, if they want to get to that transition. And the thing is, by 2040, from a reliability perspective, they say we need 27 to 45 gigawatts. I'm getting a little nerdy here. Yeah. Gigawatts of dispatchable emission-free resources. 1 gigawatt is the equivalent of powering 750,000 homes. We have 41 gigawatts of our total generating capacity, not wind, solar, hydro, nuclear, natural gas, and oil. 41. We have to get almost double that in dispatchable. Wind and solar does not count. It doesn't count because it's not dispatchable. So nuclear should be a part of the equation, but the technology is not there. Carbon capture, sequestration, renewable natural gas, we're not there on all these things yet. So why would you go away from a reliable source, a dispatchable source like natural gas? And like I said, it's been referred to as a bridge fuel. You don't tear down a bridge before you build a new one. Exactly. But that's exactly what they're doing with the reliable and affordable natural gas infrastructure supply and delivery system. That's what their policies are designed to dismantle it. It's totally designed to take away consumer choice on how you heat your home, how you cook your food, how you power your buildings, and the vehicle you drive. It will jeopardize the reliability of the grid, leading to dangerous and deadly blackouts, and it will simply continue our nation-leading out-migration of more families and businesses leaving the state of New York, and we can't have that happen.
And you've had so many press conferences and so many conversations these last couple of weeks on energy and talking about lower lights on with energy relief. Do you think they held them these last 2 weeks so they could go cold, not have you go cold turkey? Ways and means that lets you have a couple of weeks of still having energy.
Well, they're giving me a little fill. Yeah. It's all right, but we got a great ranker. We got a great, and this is an issue I'm gonna keep talking about.
Well, everybody's talking about it, and that's what's. We know that you're not going to stop fighting, but it just, I know it's going to be tough for you.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I mean, for the viewers, I mean, there's talk. The governor wants to get changes.
Yeah.
The Democrats are in the legislature already doubled down and say they don't want any changes.
Yeah.
She should force the hand, on policies. If policies are important to her, she'll put them in her budget. She'll draw a line in the sand. This is one to draw a line in the sand, in my opinion, if she's for affordability. But here's the thing: if she doesn't want to do that, there's an off ramp to the CLCPA, because there's language in there, and I've said this. I've said this to the governor's people. I said, listen, if you don't want to do it, do this. The PSC can determine if there's a jeopardization to the delivery of reliable and safe service. They can pump the brakes on this thing. And if there's affordability issues, especially if you see an abundance of arrears happening, and we already see that, the arrears are continuing to back up, and it's understandable why. It started with COVID, it got exacerbated in COVID, and then still, those are reasons that they could take the off-ramp and then pause this whole thing, and they should. I mean, and the thing that's mind-blowing to me, they say this is all for the environment and global emissions. New York's 0.4%. Of global emissions, 0.4.
Come on.
China's 30% has 1,000 coal plants and building more any week. Are they going to really help us meet our clean green energy goals? No.
Virtue signaling.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tubs and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
At William R., they
only handle motor vehicle accident cases.
No, we're not going to take any low-ball offers.
There's nothing William loves more than fighting for his clients and giving them the big money they deserve.
Okay, wow.
But everyone needs an outlet, a chance to get away from it all.
Heads bowed, eyes closed, and now go to your happy place.
Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Matar.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. All right, we got some questions, Phil.
Sure.
Please ask Phil, since the electric bills have doubled, what specific programs is that money going to? I'm seeing a lot of shiny new utility trucks, but what upgrades are happening to the grid? Is the extra money for utility bills being funneled back to Hochul?
Well, again, with the rate increases, as I've said, it's one part. It's the delivery. The supply is where they go out and they purchase their power. And there are some of these green energy programs that are being paid for through the supply because they have to buy these green programs. Like Champlain Hudson Express is basically, just to give you an idea, is the power that's going to come from Quebec down to New York City, and only New York City can benefit.
Yeah.
That's going to be subsidized by everyone across the state.
Yeah.
Offshore wind, that's being subsidized by everyone across the state. But the delivery part, that's to pay for the poles, the wires, the substations, and there are projects they're trying to do. But we're aware. I mean, when like from NYSEG, we've been told that there are certain power upgrades they want to make, but the PSC is basically telling them, and some of these things we're hearing through secondhand is that you're saying, no, you can't do this. You got to get more green energy, and that's not. You got to do more wind and solar. We don't want wind and solar. No. We want, power that generates that. So and listen, the governor's quick to blame the utilities, and I'm not saying the utilities aren't at fault at this, but they're reacting to these green energy mandates that they have to make.
Is the fine? Someone asked that. Is the fines against oil companies, has that been repealed, or that's still going with the climate change super fund there?
That's still pending. There's still a lawsuit. Nothing's happened to that, but I would hope that would get thrown out. That has to.
Just from the business climate aspect, I'm not talking oil companies, but if you're a major manufacturer, you got to think, well, if I follow all the rules, and then 10 years later they're going to find me. Okay. Good morning, Phil. Who was calling the shots in New York City? In New York State? Is it Hochul or the Puppet Masters in Albany? I think it's a combination, right?
Well,
right now it seems like it's Mount Donnie.
I think it's the progressives, the socialists, the Democrat, the socialists. They have a big influence on her policies because she was scared of a primary and that base, and she just doesn't. I've said she doesn't really have the backbone to stand up to shit. Because there's some of these things on the energy policy she could put in her budget if she was serious about it, because then she'd be negotiating from a position of strength. Once it's in the budget, it's harder to get it out. But if it's not in there, then you can't get in there. I mean, one good example is the methodology used to measure emissions is when they pass CLCP is a 20-year methodology. Yeah. Every other state, minus one, uses a 100-year methodology. International, the U.S. uses a 100-year methodology. And by not changing it, that's going to increase costs at the pump more and home heating costs more. And she could have changed that, but she didn't do that. She could put that in her budget, and she didn't do that. So now she's going to try to negotiate it in. It's going to be harder to do that.
Mark writes in, Phil, Bath, New York uses their landfills to produce energy through methane gas. Why doesn't the rest of the state explore more ways to get energy?
Well, we should be. That's the problem. But the problem, there's this hostility towards anything with natural gas or methane. Their whole thing is wind, solar, and batteries. Yeah. And that's not an answer, in my opinion. You can't say you're for an all the above approach. Even the draft energy plan And the final plan talks about an all-of-the-above approach, but I continue to say, the policies aren't matching the words.
Yep.
Just can't do it. We need to be looking at a broader perspective. But the thing is, until we get these technologies, and I think nuclear needs to be part of it. I mean, look at the generation that comes from nuclear. And I had a comment from an energy reporter, nuclear has subsidies. Yes, nuclear gets subsidies to keep them here, baseload generation. So does wind and solar. But if you're comparing the two, there's no comparison. Nuclear, hands down, first it's dispatchable, second it's reliable. It goes 24/7 if you need it. But the other thing is land use.
Yeah.
Look at the land use. I mean, and we have upstate communities. They want a nuclear facility. They're begging for one, because they know what it will mean to their local communities. But land use, I mean, Indian Point, which the governor shut down, 2,000 megawatts, 2 gigawatts on 240 acres. Look at Fitzpatrick up in central New York, 800 megawatts on 900 acres. Now, the Climate Action Council plan calls for 60 gigawatts of solar, remember?
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot. So it's about 8 acres per megawatt. So that's 480,000 acres of land for solar panels. Can you? That's all upstate New York. Wind, same thing. And upstate communities don't want this. They want, so they're begging for nuclear. Some of them are begging for nuclear. Some people in the solar tier would like to have gas, but not wind and solar. But they're being force-fed wind and solar without any local input or control.
No, and we got other things to talk about. But
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's not my
I can't
fault.
help myself.
It's officially Fridays with Phil, because we got this. Morning, Frank. Sergeant Dave here. I think Phil should run for governor. He talks about all common sense things New York needs. So now it's officially a Fridays with Phil when you get asked to be governor. All right. Should we take a break? Yeah, I'm going to take a break, because then when we come back, we're going to regroup, because I want to talk about the budgets because there's a lot going on, and you've been very busy with that. Hopefully we can talk about corrections officers too. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
State nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's drive drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
To the me I used to be, before talking to 988.
I felt alone.
I thought seeing hard things was just part of the job. I thought that having a bad day at work meant I was failing. But then I connected with someone at 988.
A real person texted back. Someone listened without judgment.
Now I know. Now I know it's okay to let someone help me too.
And I'm stronger than I thought.
We hear you. Call, text, or chat 988.
Good morning. We do have areas of fog in the morning that give way to partly cloudy skies in the afternoon, topping off in the 50-degree range, upper 40s in the cooler spots. By tonight, scattered showers possible, but very mild. Temperatures in the 40s. The average low of 21 reminds us that it very reasonably could be snow for this time of year, but it's rain. And additional showers possible Saturday afternoon, continuing Saturday night. Warm in the 60s, drier.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, the new ranking minority member of Assembly Ways and Means Committee, Phil Palmisano. So, Phil, let's talk about where are we at when it comes to the budgets right now, because this is kind of that sweet spot right now where things are really busy, right?
Right, yeah. Obviously, after the governor presents their budget, the legislature has joint budget hearings. So I was kind of tossed into the middle of that, and that was it was interesting. It was a lot, but
right
it was
in the
great.
Deep end, yeah.
But so we concluded the hearings the last week of February, and then that Friday, We had basically we met with economists for several hours. We had their presentations on the state of the economy in New York and U.S. to kind of, because what we have to do is that weekend we had to come to an agreement, 5-way agreement on revenue projections. The governor has her numbers, the Senate minority, Assembly minority, Senate majorities, they all have their numbers, right. And there's a difference. Of course, the majorities wanted to spend way above the governor, billions above up to almost just under $2 billion in more spending. The Assembly and Senate Republicans, their projections were somewhat below the governor, so they have to negotiate. Yeah. And we were part of those negotiations up till midnight. It had to be done by March 1st. We came to an agreement. So it's a little bit above what the governor had projected, but that's based on the economic indicators are coming back. So now that sets the basis for the budget negotiations. What will happen next week, we're going to get the one-house budgets. That's going to be the wish list that you're going to see from the majorities. It's going to have tax increases in it. It's going to spend a lot of money that we don't have. It's a whole bunch of things. So that's that. Then after that, then we'll probably might be brief joint conference committees, but that sets the stage for the final budget negotiations. But we're going to continue to push for our priorities and what policies we think need to be included in that budget. But that's where we are right now.
Okay. What are you seeing? What do you think? So you kind of already said, but expect radical next week, pretty much.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a wish list. Even my colleagues on there say, listen, this is a wish list. They just have to go through. It's part of the constitutional process. They have to pass their one-house budget resolutions. We'll have a debate. I'll be part of that debate, obviously, discussing all the things. And it's just one resolution. It's not every budget bill. Like when we do the budget, we're talking about 10 budget bills on different topics: public protection, health, education. This is just one budget resolution. We kind of debate the merits of that, just to get their priorities, and that sets the stage of so that everyone knows what the Senate stands on it, or the Assembly stands on it, and then they go from there with the negotiations with the governor.
And I wanted to mention, we've been playing a lot of videos. You've done great with, like I said, the energy, but I want to talk about corrections officers because yesterday, that's why Bruce Blakeman, a candidate for governor, was in Elmira. He wanted to talk to the corrections officers and kind of show a solidarity with the mess that they went through. You had a couple now, great videos that you sent us where you really held some people's feet to the fire. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was with the DOCS commissioner, Marcelo, talking to him, challenging him why, because we know why the work stoppage, work protests, people want to call strike. I think it's protest because of the conditions, whatever it is. Call it whatever you want. But the reasons were for the public safety and for their quality of life. Double, triple overtime, but the safety because of the halt. Not being able to segregate the most dangerous and violent inmates from the rest of the general population. We've seen in the first 3 years since the implementation of HALT, and we're in the 4th year now, so it's kind of come down a little bit, probably because of the work stoppage, but the first 3 years, inmate on inmate assaults were up over 169%. Inmate on staff assaults were up over 76%. Contraband seizures were up 32% during that period of time. So it's a powder keg environment. It's a combination of all the failed policy, the prison closures, this. And so I want to repeal HALT. A lot of us want to repeal. Yeah. They weren't going to get that. They couldn't get that. So that was one thing. But what came together, though, last year was the Governor's Office of Employee Relations, the DOCS commissioner, and then SCOBA came, and they came to an agreement on HALT reforms that should be done. And I put a comment, this is a step in the right direction. It's not where we need to be. It's a step in the right direction to make it safer for the corrections officers and the civilians, staff that works inside, and also for the other inmates. They came to an agreement. So my point was, why isn't the governor putting this in our budget? Yeah. These were your people. The commissioner said, well, I can't speak for the governor. I should have said, have you told her to put in the budget? So then the following week, and I think the last one I had was I was a little bit more agitated with was the governor, because he goes, I can't speak for the governor. Well, this guy works, the other guy, the commissioner can't speak for the governor, but the Governor's Office of Employee Relations director who signed the paper goes, well, that's more correction. I go, sir, you signed the paper. Your name's on this. Well, I signed it. I go, then why aren't you putting this in the budget? We know why this happened is because of the safety. That's not in the budget. That's number one. That's something that would provide to let our corrections officers know we have your back instead of stabbing them in the back. I mean, she fired 2,000 corrections officers. We have a work shortage. Now we're spending over $500 million for National Guard troops.
I think it's even higher than that now.
$535 million was the last I heard. Yeah. And that came up in the budget. So why not do that? You're right. Okay. Why not? Put those HALT reforms in the budget? Because if she thinks she's going to negotiate it in the budget, like I said, there's some of my colleagues that today, they don't want to make any changes. They're not going to go along. No. But if she put it in her budget, she could draw a line in the sand and say, I'm doing this. She put cell phone bans in her budget. That was a priority to her. Yeah. The safety and security of our corrections officers aren't a priority to her. Maybe the safety of the other inmates, because that does impact the other inmates too.
Right.
So why not? And then the other thing that impacts our corrections officers that the governor's vetoed twice, the death gamble.
Yeah.
These individuals. This is a
You've been talking about this for a long time.
This is a retention issue, because they have a 25-year retirement for corrections officers. Right. But if you work beyond that 25 years, if you were to die, whether you're working or just have a heart attack,
sure.
If you were to die, your spouse will only get 3 times your annual salary, even though you worked enough years to secure that pension for yourself. Your spouse would not be eligible to that pension. That's wrong.
Yeah.
So the governor.
What's the incentive to stay?
Yes, and especially with what we have with the recruitment and retention going on now. So if the governor, when she vetoed it, she goes, put it in the budget. But she hasn't put it in the budget, and we haven't got it added in the budget. And I don't understand it. I'm like, and I said to her, the governor's, I go, if the governor's here, I'd say it to here. I can answer it. I go, why doesn't she put it? He goes, I can't speak. I go, I will. I'll take my own deference to say, the reason I say it to her, she was right here now, she didn't do it because she doesn't give a damn. No. She doesn't care. And if she did, she would have put it in her budget to tell those corrections officers that I have your backs and I'm with you. Because those are 2 things she could have done. The HALT reforms that would have made it safer, and the death gamble, which would have provided them some security for their families to know their loved one would be taken care of if they died, while still staying on the job to help out their brothers and sisters who are still working inside those facilities, because they know they need people and they want to stay there a little longer to help out.
I think we got to take another break, because the next segment I want to talk about chips, because you've been busy. You got a lot of with all the various chips, energy. Busy time. All right, stay with us. Keep those comments coming in, and we'll be right back.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
State giving nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lecom Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
To the me I used to be, before talking to 988.
I felt alone.
I thought seeing hard things was just part of the job. I thought that having a bad day at work meant I was failing. But then I connected with someone at 988.
A real person texted back. Someone listened without judgment.
Now I know. Now I know it's okay to let someone help me too.
And I'm stronger than I thought.
We hear you. Call, text, or chat 988.
Good morning. We do have areas of fog in the morning that give way to partly cloudy skies in the afternoon, topping off in the 50-degree range, upper 40s in the cooler spots. By tonight, scattered showers possible, but very mild. Temperatures in the 40s. The average low of 21 reminds us that it very reasonably could be snow for this time of year, but it's rain. And additional showers possible Saturday afternoon, continuing Saturday night. Warm in the 60s, drier.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and that studio Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. A couple comments here. Ken writes in, does Phil think with his new position in Ways and Means that he could push for investment disclosure for all New York State elected officials and their families? This would shed some light on the reasons why the Democrats push so hard to go for fossil free, solar and wind, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, we do have to do a financial disclosure report every year, and you have to put your investments on that report that's available. You can, if someone wants to foil it or ask for it, they can get them.
Okay.
So you have to put out, like when I do it, I have to put, I mean, not that I have to, like I have like a deferred comp, I put that, and you have to show what groups those are. I have an IRA, you know, I have to show what that's invested in, that type of thing. That's available to people to see.
Question for Phil. What is the less fascination with prisoners' rights above the guards? Are they courting a huge voting block? I don't understand their end game.
I don't know either.
That's a
it
great
seems
question.
like the scales of justice have tipped in favor of inmates and violent criminals rather than law enforcement, public safety, and crime victims. It's happening inside our correctional facilities, and it's happening outside our correctional facilities. We've seen the, you know, bail reform, things of that nature, raise the age, which basically makes it easier for people to get out of prison and commit crime again. I saw a report that a parolee was just arrested for committing assaults and slashing people after they were released. Just that's what's happening. So and you saw down in New York City the people attacking, throwing snowballs at the New York City police officer. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They should have been arrested. He says it was a snowball fight. That wasn't a snowball fight.
No, people
Mayor.
went to the hospital.
That was an assault.
Yeah, and thanks for that question, Jack. That was a great question. A comment from Rudy. He says, good morning. Why haven't the people of New York started a proposition vote to legalize natural gas drilling instead of letting Democrats run the show? I don't know. Is there a mechanism for that? I don't even know. No, I don't think. Yeah, I didn't think so. Comment from a different viewer. I would love to see nuclear power. It is reliable and affordable. Phil, I would also love to see you run for governor of New York. I like your common sense approach.
Don't get me in trouble, guys.
But that makes it official Fridays with Phil.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
One last thing, and then I got to talk about Fridays with Phil because I love this. But a comment from a viewer: it's a bit of a surreal feeling knowing that in the next few years my family and friends will have to leave New York State. It kind of is.
It is. Well, there was a poll out, and I brought that up at the revenue consensus that talking about out-migration. I asked the economists there. That poll that morning said 1/3 of New Yorkers were going to leave the state of New York.
Yeah.
The three top issues they cited was living expense, cost of living, quality of life, and taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, 1/3.
1/3.
I mean, even if that's 10% right, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of taxable income that's going to go with it.
But I agree, it's surreal. But let's talk about this before we talk about the nitty gritty, because I love this. You sent me a photo. So tell us about, because listen, Fridays with Phil, we love it. Everybody calls it that. But tell us a little bit about how that's maybe oozed into Albany.
Oh, yeah. So this is funny. The Ways and Means team that works for me, and it's such an incredible staff. I wish if they were watching, thank you for all you do for me. Thank you for all you do for our conference. They're just incredible, phenomenal staff. Team. It's a team. Yeah. So my predecessor at Ra, who's our anchor now, they did it every Friday. They do a report for him, and now they do it for me. His was called the Ra Report. Okay. So then the staff took a vote. They all came up with suggestions, and I didn't want to vote, but I saw them, and they go, "What do you think?" And some of them said like the Palmisano Paul. Some of them said Palmisano points. Something said Phil this, Phil points. But the one that caught my eye, and it actually got the most points. It was called the Friday Fill-In.
I love it.
So later today, the Ways and Means team will send me a report on some updates of what's going on, and we brief it more next week. So when I saw that, I go, perfect. I'm kind of partial to that. I think Palmisano is too long. How can you go from Raw Report to Palmisano? Too many syllables.
Too much.
But the Friday Fill-In I thought was kind of neat, and it came when I saw it, I had to tell you right away. I thought it was cool.
That's great. And see, a little bit of Frankie
have a little fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of fun, chips.
Yes, chips.
So first of all, this kind of ties in, but we had a great conversation on this program just the other day about a congestion tax for upstate.
Oh my God!
Right, the $25 a year, the way I understand registration.
Yeah.
Anything that taxes
non-starter to me. Luckily, thank God, it's just some proposal from some outside group that absolutely will no way, in my opinion, I will sign off on, and others. So it's just crazy. It's just a money grab.
But that ties in with CHIPS, and I know you've always been outspoken, getting CHIPS funding and more fair for our, like you said.
Parity.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah,
parity. I mean, listen. I mean, in the past, under when it was balanced between Republicans and Democrats, there was parity. Like we do the 5-year DOT capital plan and the 5-year MTA capital, and they'd be pretty equal. Well, that's not the case anymore. And I support MTA funding because, I mean, certainly benefits our, local employers like Alstom, soon to be Siemens, CAF, those types of companies that do great work. And if that's the lifeblood of the downstate transportation network, but CHIPS is the lifeblood of our upstate transportation network. Some of these local communities, that's the only money they receive for the view. If you're not familiar, it's money that goes from the state right to the local town, village, county, to decide what roads, bridges, and culverts you want to fix. So Tom O'Meara and I kind of started, Chris Friend, back in 2013. We had these rallies in Albany. The highway superintendents would come up to Albany and rally. 700 of them, and we have a sea of orange. Local roads matter. Now it's local roads that were essential. And asking, we've had some significant increases over the time. We've gotten more money to our local communities, which, in my opinion, every dollar invested in chips is one less dollar that comes from the local property taxpayer.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Every dollar in chips saves $6 to $14 in long-term rehabilitation costs. So we had asked for a $250 million increase this year again, because it was flat funding from the governor, and it's warranted and justified. First of all, 87% of the roads in New York are owned and maintained by our municipalities. 52% of the 18,000 bridges are owned and maintained by our local municipalities. 48% of the miles driven are driven on local roads. And the Federal Construction Highway Cost Index, the inflationary rate for all fuel costs, equipment, is up over 70% over the past 3 years. So any money we get to our locals is being eaten away by inflation.
But look at this too, Phil. Okay, $250 million, that's nothing to sneeze at. No. Then you look at Hochul throwing money at Mamdani. You look at the child care, the cost of that, all the money that New York City is getting, and sadly, $250 million is a drop in the bucket compared to that.
First of all, you're talking in the context of a $250 billion budget.
Yes.
And budgeting is all about priorities. We don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. But you have to prioritize your spending within that content. There's a pie. So why are we putting $800 million into Hollywood film tax credit to subsidize the Hollywood? And then the governor, in her 30-day amendments, because it was a gave Mandamia $1.5 billion of additional money. I mean, it's like a bailout.
Just to keep him happy. And then he says, no, I'm still not happy.
Yes,
because
he wants more and more. And I question him at the budget hearing.
Tax the rich. Oh, yeah, we played that.
I question him. I go, no, I agree. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But he's out there.
Yeah, he's out there. I like when he said, good to see you again, because it's like, you didn't spend any time in Albany. So I think that threw me off. It's like, when's the last time Mamdani said,
well, then I said, we go, I go, well, anyways. And I said, listen, the one thing we can all agree on, Mr. Mayor, is you have an ambitious agenda. Everyone's going to agree. I go, but we're going to disagree on whether it's a good agenda.
Exactly.
And then we kind of went into it. So,
but you look at the money. So, and again, he has to make good on his promise of taxing the rich. That's what it's about. But not to get off the chips. You just throw so much money in New York City. And I think we can all do many wasteful ways. Give chips to $250 million.
That would be significant, because it's about safety. I mean, how many of our kids go on a local school bus to go over a local road, bridge, or culvert? Tourism. We always talk about tourism. Wine country, but none of the federal dollars can really go on these local roads.
Right.
So the interstate might be getting improved, but you have to get off an interstate and getting on local roads to get to a business, get to a site. And what message is that send if the local roads are a mess?
Right.
And things are eating away at that, and we need to provide that direct relief. And that benefits every municipality, not just upstate. It does benefit New York City, and it benefits Long Island, but it's the lifeblood of our upstate transportation network, and we're going to continue to push. I think we had we had the local press conference in Big Flats. I couldn't be there because there's a death in the family, and my mom had a little hip injury, so. But Tom, Chris, Joe, they took with it. John Buckley, everyone was there. It was great to build momentum. What we did is we started doing these press conferences regionally around the state to build momentum. And this week it culminated with a big bipartisan press conference. The Senate Chair of Transportation, the Assembly Chair of Transportation, Republicans and Democrats were both there, unified, saying the same message. We need this $250 million. The key is, if we can all agree, let's make sure they put it in their one-house budgets first.
Yeah.
That's going to be key. If you don't put it in your one-house budget, then you're just talking.
Exactly.
So when they say that, we're going to hold them accountable to that, and then let's get the governor to agree with it. But there seems to be bipartisan support for this, so let's do it.
Let's just do it.
It's common sense.
All right, we got to take a short break and then wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
And then the man didn't hire William Attar and settled for a low-ball offer. Ooh.
Bill, that's really not that scary.
Really? It gives me the chills. I mean, at William Matar, we only handle motor vehicle accident cases, and they should have called us.
Dealing with big insurance doesn't have to be scary. Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Matar.
The American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge communities offer a free home away from home, closer to cancer care. People are meant to be together. Learn more to help keep it that way.
Good morning. We do have areas of fog in the morning that give way to partly cloudy skies in the afternoon, topping off in the 50-degree range, upper 40s in the cooler spots. By tonight, scattered showers possible, but very mild. Temperatures in the 40s. The average low of 21 reminds us that it very reasonably could be snow for this time of year, but it's rain, and additional showers possible Saturday afternoon, continuing Saturday night. Warm in the 60s, drier sun.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I appreciate all the comments. We're just about out of time. We've got to get Phil a few last-second questions I've been saving till the end. But how does Phil feel about Bruce Blakeman for governor of New York? That's a question.
Yeah, well, I'm supporting him.
Yeah,
he's our guy.
You're not supporting Hochul.
He's much better than the alternative,
Yeah.
and I think
he did a good job yesterday.
Yeah, he's out. He's getting out and about. He's had success certainly on Long Island, in a purple area.
Yeah.
And that area is more Democrats than Republicans, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
So he's out. He's out there. He has a message. I'm going to do everything I can to support him. I'm sure the rest of our team will do that.
Yep.
I mean, the issues are on our side, whether it's public safety, energy, affordability, because they can't keep Governor Hochul can't keep talking about an affordability agenda when you look at her policy resumes. So yeah.
And I will say, I know people, and I've talked to his people. He's going to come on the program. But what I will say is, people haven't heard a lot about him. If they heard him yesterday, they'd be in total support. So just trust me on that. But we will get him on the program.
And it's March. November's a ways away, but we have a lot of work to do. And
we do.
He'll be up here, and I'm going to do everything I can to help him.
Yep. All right. Our good friends from WGI visited you. We showed the picture the other day. That looks fun.
Yeah, they were up.
Watkins Glen International.
Yep. Don Burlew, a couple members of her
She's
team.
been on the program quite a few times.
Fiona and Michelle were there. And then also we had Dan Klinetsky from NASCAR was there.
Yeah.
And what we're doing, the reason they came up is they brought out Pace Car. We've talked and we were putting together, Tom and I were going to put, and we reached out to bipartisan, we're going to put up a bipartisan motorsports working group so we can kind of put some attention on this issue, because even some states, and I brought this up at the economic development hearing to the Empire State Development, some states put tons of money into their motorsports, tracks, because it's so competitive. We want to keep that here. It's a gem. This is the 40th year that the NASCAR has been there.
Is that right?
Yes, in 1986. I looked it up before, not before I came in, but I knew that before.
Right.
So we're creating this motorsports working group so we can look at, and the thing is, there's more than 20 motorsports venues across the state.
Yeah.
So it's an economic driver for these local communities. I mean, you see what's going on. So we want to put attention on this issue and see what we can do from a policy perspective and help support. I mean, I love New York dollars. You think that'd be going to help promote WGI? They're not getting any dollars. So we've engaged the Empire State Development. So, Senator Cooney, Democrat transportation chair from Rochester, came to the meeting. It was kind of like a reception gathering, this is a kickoff. And he followed me on. We talked to Hope. He goes, Hope Knight, the chair. He goes, we got to do this. So to have him there with me to do it, bipartisan, we're going to push this. And it's an economic driver. Yeah. They did a study in 2014. It was like a $200 million economic impact. Then over 100,000 people show up at that race every year. Wow. So it's an economic engine for not just our region. Yeah. It's an economic engine for our state, and we're going to support it the best we can.
Also, we got to go, but we want to remind people about the third annual Donate Life Art Contest. I talk about all the time. It's coming up. That's over, isn't it?
It's over, but I think people, if you haven't sent it anyway, because we're going to have a big gathering March 31st to kick off. We do a big annual event that you'll probably hear about at the time to promote Donate Life.
And also the 2026 scholarship opportunity that we talked about. We actually had a couple people reach out to get more information. That's on March 16th. That's due. So you still have time.
Send it to 4 $3,000 scholarships. 2 economic to athletic.
There you go. Phil, thanks for giving us so much time as always. It's been a fun Friday with Phil. We'll leave on this comment. Frank and Phil, great show today. Have a good weekend, and congrats to Phil in his new position.
Thank you.
All right. Stay with us. This is my last break. I just said it. Join us on Monday for Frankly Speaking.